Well. It is now Wednesday morning, everybody. Welcome. Another day. What the fun? How you doing? 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 Yeah. Going through like a lot of stuff. It's really challenging for a lot of people. Making sure that everything we're doing every day, we ask ourselves like, hey, did I do everything I possibly could? You know, especially if you have goals that you've been like pursuing for a long time. It's really tough. And especially with like, hey, like sometimes stuff that's going on in the world can feel very bad for some people. Like, you know, it's very different depending on who you are. Everybody faces like unique challenges, and it makes you feel so invisible when problems that affect you are sometimes dismissed by people. And it can get really frustrating, especially like this is where the trap of social media can come in, because there are so many different people out there with so many different viewpoints in the world, and it's really hard to feel like people truly understand you, or even like, you know, it's like, especially it's like, I just want peace, you know, in this world. You know, I really don't like how my existence is inherently political. That being a trans woman, there are people out there that'll just never accept the trans experience. People that'll never accept that, you know, somebody is who they are. And it's like, it can get really frustrating, because it's like, how are you supposed to live in a world like this where there's two groups of people who accept you and people who will never accept you? I don't want to say never, because, you know, a lot of the times, a lot of these people, the reason why they're so unaccepting is because they have some, you know, a few encounters in their life that have like that have shaped their worldview. And a lot of the times it snaps when they start to actually look at like, hey, like, you know, the reason I think this is because I have this deep fear within myself. And then these people start facing their demons, and they realize, you know, their unacceptance is basically because they don't accept themselves. And I don't want to, like, you know, psychoanalyze other people or whatever, but it can be really frustrating when it's like, hey, like, is it that hard for someone to just accept me? Like, is it that hard? But then it's like, it's also hard for me to accept some people as well. So it's like, I understand where this energy is coming from. Like, you know, I understand. And so it's like, where can peace come from? And I don't know, maybe it can't be solved. And it's easy to think about these things when you're facing like seemingly insurmountable problems in your own life, and then it just kind of like, it becomes almost like a metaphor for like what you're going through. It's like more proof of like, you know, things are not going to work out for me. And then it's like further proof, you know, and it's like, it's not even about like the actual objective thing that's happening. It's about like the fact that you're like taking that event or that encounter or that feeling that you had, and it's like compounded by all the things that you're dealing with, that you're struggling with. It can be kind of frustrating. It can be kind of frustrating because it's like, I've always had to live in a world that doesn't really accept me. You know, whether it's because of the way I behave, because I refuse to conform just for the sake of conformity. I'll conform for reasons like, hey, like, it's like, you know, like if there's a logical reason to conform, like obviously you don't want to be different just for the sake of being different, especially if it's disruptive. But when people ask you to conform and there's no good reason to do it other than because they said so, I can't accept that. Maybe that's because I'm autistic, but then, you know, at the same time, it's people who are autistic and, you know, and other disruptors who help change the world. And it's like, hey, like, when can people just leave each other alone? You know, it's like, why does my existence have to be justified for, you know, in your mind? Like, I don't need your acceptance, but like, can you just like, I kind of do. Like, right? Like, it's kind of frustrating. It's like, I just invite people to like really examine like why they have the feelings they have, regardless of who you are. And this is myself included. I have my own problems, right? Like, so I don't know. It's just like playing Conquest Dark. It's been giving me a lot of perspective in many directions, like positive and negative, and some just are neutral. But yesterday I had like a really intense feeling of frustration and advocacy fatigue and burnout, and you know, I got a bit upset in therapy and I had a meltdown and we had to end early, but then I turned it around and I met with some friends and I didn't allow it to spiral, so I'm pretty proud of myself. But you know, it's like, it feels like it's too late for me to succeed. You know, at 37, it's like, it feels like, if I was gonna put it into Conquest Dark terms, it's like how at the beginning of the game, if you pick up non-rare armor, you're gonna miss out on extra passive abilities. So I actually was thinking about this as far as like, you know, the game goes. I think today, when I'm farming the arena, I need to skip all the commons because I need to save those rerolls for at least the blue armor so that I can upgrade it to the full rare armor so that I can get the extra passive abilities, which increases your damage. Because if you don't get those, you're screwed for the entire game. It's just like in real life, but I don't think that real life is that simple. But it did trigger an emotional response in me that I was thinking about myself that way. And so, like, obviously that's going to happen. But what we do next with that is like what's important. It doesn't mean, you know, obviously we're gonna have those thoughts, so don't try to avoid those thoughts. I think, like, lean into them. You know, when you have thoughts like that, like, oh, this game is a metaphor for my life, I'm miserable because, you know, it's just like in the game. And it's not just like in the game, it's just triggering a response, and then there's a reason why you have that thought. And what you do with it next is what's important, not the fact that you had the thought. Because you can go so many different directions, like, with a thought. And when you have something like that, it's like, well, in real life, you have the opportunity to replace that armor. In Conquest Dark, you don't. At least not at this time, from my understanding. Once you're locked into an armor, you can't upgrade it anymore. You can you enhance it, but you can't switch it to a rarity. So I think I need to skip the first few drops until I get a rare drop, at least a blue armor, and then I can re-roll it to a rarity and then get a passive. And I won't get armor unless I'm able to upgrade it. So if I and I need to focus on what I could also do is early on I can focus only on farming lesser soul stones, just soul stones, I guess, soul fragments. And what I can do is add rerolls, so I can only take yellow armor or orange armor, or whatever you want to call it, orange armor. So orange armor gives you a passive ability. Okay, so if I farm rerolls and kind of like try to focus on surviving as long as possible, maybe start with resilience, because I'm probably going to take some health bars. Try not to, but it's going to happen if I'm not getting armor early until I can upgrade it. Like, first the first armor drops I'm going to be able to upgrade. So I'm going to have upgraded armor, upgraded rarity right away. But it means that I'm not going to be able to do rerolls. But early on, that doesn't matter so much, because I feel like The only part where it's really going to matter is like past wave 20, or maybe even past wave 26. Wave 26 is when I start to really get like fearful that my character is going to take, you know, health bars. So we're going to focus on that today and try to, like, you know, realize that, like, just because something triggers in a game, like that initial thought is, you know, while it might be important, it's like what we do with it next is what matters. And I want you to view this VOD, if you're watching, or if you're watching the stream from here and you're lurking, I want you to try to do this with me. Is to, every time you get a thought that you see on screen based on gameplay or based on something I say or anything like that, I want you to, like, sometimes you want to run with it, but like if you have a thought that is causing you distress, I want you to try to, like, reframe it and not avoid it. And that maybe it'll come later, but like if you're, you know, like, this is basically what I'm trying to do, is I'm trying to, like, reframe, you know, my thoughts about things. But yeah, I we got a lot of farming to do today. We got a lot of farming. We got a lot of farming. We have a lot of stuff to level up. We're still not... I don't even know what the max level of these altars are. Do they just infinitely go up? We're gonna continually upgrade... we also need to upgrade this ritual to level 25. Because in order to do this Zareth Arn boss, we're really gonna need to, like, you know, we need to farm a lot, because we need to upgrade all of our runes. And we need to upgrade all of our passives, and upgrade all of our movement abilities, because I might want to, once I have everything upgraded, I want to test different builds for each class. So, like, we have a lot to upgrade. Now I could... We can farm these other ones, because I have ritual modifiers. Extra corrupted soul fragments and stuff like that. You know, because I have all these corrupted ones. We have Obelisk of the Sun, Obelisk of the Moon. Increased faction experience gain. Okay, so we should actually remove all these shards. We should do faction, because we need to upgrade all of our factions. And we have a Shattered Dark Ritual bonus now. But right now I kind of want to, this is only affecting Dark Rituals. This is Endless Dark Ritual. Is that affected by this? This one increased faction experience. This one is increased soul coin and extra corrupted soul fragments. This is for faction XP. I don't think we need to worry too much about faction XP. We need soul coins. But I don't know if this affects the arena. But the arena has a different, like I said, I think, like, for most of the rituals, I'm pretty sure, like, I don't really need to worry too much, but, like, let's just start with a ritual arena. And I'm still leveling up the barbarian faction. We're at level 23 now, out of 25. crit chance, and treasure hunter. And so what we need to do is I'm going to try to focus on armor. We can we're going to try to focus on finding... Didn't get to tune in the stream yesterday, but saw the VOD. Well, I'm glad people are watching the VOD, Theodore, you know. I hope I'm providing value. That's really, you know, anybody who's like, you know, making content, the biggest hope you can have is that you're providing value and you're not wasting people's time. Obviously people have the choice over whether they watch or not, but I would hope that people are you know, getting some kind of value. I'm not really like, you know, I'm not really expecting like super top tier content, you know, high octane content. I'm just trying to like keep a regular schedule every morning, starting off my day with like some meditations on things that I'm working through, and hopefully they provide value to others, but mostly I'm doing this for myself. So, you know, it's like I get insights into my life, and a lot of the times I try to use whatever's happening on, you know, with any media, with anything that I consume, any kind of media, and especially things that are considered to be quote unquote wastes of time. I try not to see them as wastes of time. I try to see them as like, hey, if I take information that goes into my mind, oh, see, there's a blue armor, and so we can upgrade rarity with only one reroll. Damage taken reduced per life lost. Or an extra movement chart and chance for rare items. I think it's important to get this damage taken reduced per life lost, but then it gives concentrated shot, and we can't really do that. I think we're going to get the silver chainmail. Gives us an extra movement charge, and it also increases item drops. And it gives me execute. I haven't leveled up execute though. What we're gonna try to do is we're gonna make sure that we get every passive ability we can possibly get. So I'm gonna skip white armor to get more rerolls until I can upgrade rarity. Blue armor we should be able to upgrade if we have damage to injured is a rare. Yeah, I beat the boss. Yeah, I need to clip it so I can make a YouTube short and TikTok. Because, you know, it's like little moments like that. It might not be like the best high octane content, but at the same time, like, hey, like it's a moment. And, you know, it's nobody else's moment. It's my moment. What we're going to do is we're going to focus on only getting armor that gives us passives, because if we miss those early on, you will never be able to replace them. You can't replace the armor up a rarity. Now what we can do is we might just be able to just collect rerolls by skipping these, because these drop like frequently. We could also skip levels, but we don't want to do that. Like if you want to, I mean, I could just skip everything except the armor, but then it's like I might take a lot of damage early on or something. Yeah, see, there's certain stats.
Is there reality somewhere? My people, I won't give up on you. Come with me. Be free.
I guess just crit damage. We're gonna try to make sure we get as many, every single piece of armor we collect, there's 5 in total. We need to upgrade rarity to get a passive. Damage taken reduced per life lost. That gives us concentrated shot. Reroll. Chance for rare items, movement charge, reach for Ore of Soul, quick strike. Chance to spawn healing soul, damage to injured. Damage to injured is actually like that's a huge bonus too. It's 15 to 60%. Damage to injured is a rare stat, so we need to like make sure to well, this one needs to be converted to. We're gonna turn. We want to turn it into freeze. So we need to turn it into primal damage, no, lunar damage, type converted to lunar. To convert it to lunar damage, and then we need to, the next rune for that needs to be converted to freeze. And then we need to increase range.
My people, I won't give up on you. Come with me.
Wait, do I have the game audio on? Okay. Yeah, so like we're coming up with strats. I came up with this yesterday. Like I wasn't even playing the game. I was just like sitting in bed and like pondering like what can I do to like make my arena runs better? And I think it's like you don't want to just take, you know, white armor. You want to have orange armor. Because the orange armor gives you extra passives, which are really going to stack later waves, like wave 30 plus. Like wave 30 plus, you're really going to miss out if you don't have all those passives. Unfortunately, I haven't leveled up every single passive yet, so we're really like trying to farm as many soul coins as possible. Today is a farming day. We're going to be farming as many soul coins as we possibly can today. See, luckily we got a blue armor drop. Oh, but we need rerolls. So I'm going to have to skip it. This is good though. Yeah, we want this one. And let's just, we need to collect, first of all, let's just finish up these. These are important. Chance to freeze. And we need to skip this. Yeah, we need at least 5 rerolls in order to upgrade a blue armor, or we need to wait for an orange armor drop. And we need to get our movement ability. Yeah, so these early waves, I mean, we can survive long enough, especially if I, you know, get like the damage taken staggered and stuff like that. And bloodthirst. Okay, so like let's actually skip this. We need to skip this. Okay, now we need to wait for a blue armor drop or hopefully an orange armor drop. Because now we can upgrade the rarity, but we won't be able to reroll. Barrier. Yeah, so now we're going in with purpose. Like, we got strategy now. Like, we're going in and we're like trying to like strategically choose when to upgrade armor, and instead of just picking up every single armor the first one you get, which is what I was doing before. And so now I'm like upgrading my strategy. Let's start by trying to make sure we have as many passives as possible, meaning we need orange armor for all 5 slots, not just 1 or 2. So we got to use that rarity reroll and like even skip stuff to gain rerolls. Because especially the soul fragments. The soul fragments, those drop endlessly. So it's like I can just use those as like adding skips. I don't want to skip levels. So like, I don't think that would be good. Unless I was really trying to like min-max, like, hey, like early levels, I don't have to worry so much. It's more important that I get orange armor. And so if I skip every level and instead only focus on getting armor, and then skip every soulstone, skip every single rune, get as many rerolls as possible so that when you get an armor drop, you can upgrade it to an orange even if it's a white. Extra chance to spawn healing. Okay. You know, let's skip the runes, and because we need armor. We need it. You need 8 rerolls to roll a common into a orange, a white into an orange. We're a low-life barbarian. We're going the farming route. We're trying to get max armor so that we can hopefully stay infinite. So these early levels are going to be really tough. Okay, here we go. Skip. Now we have 8. We can turn this into full rarity. We're gonna go with the aura. Oh, I guess movement speed per life loss, yeah, and reduce bleed rate. And we're gonna get freezing vortex, extra freeze. I already have whirlwind with chance to freeze because I converted it to lunar damage. Movement speed per life lost really stacks fast. You cap out movement speed pretty easily with that stat. And that is crazy. Like, you get so fast. Like, insane fast. Okay. Let's get berserkers. We need to skip runes. We need rerolls. We need some soul fragment drops so we can skip them. Where's the spirit cavern? Okay, caravan, not cavern. Okay, okay, this we need. Rune, we're gonna skip. This more rerolls. We're gonna level that up instead of skipping it. I mean, you don't skip the rune drops. We skip the rune imbibements because we need more rerolls for armor upgrades. Once we finally finish, well, we need this. See, now we have 8. Now, even if a white drops, we're still gonna get it. Damage to injured is a very rare stat. Oh shit, we need this music. Let's go. Let's fucking go. Uh-oh. Yeah, we're gonna have to be careful with runes. But it's not as big of a deal as the armor. I think the armor is the biggest one. Okay, oh, skip. Strategic armor farming. Let's go. This might be the best run I've ever had. Who knows? Or it might blow up in my face, but we'll try. That's what's important. Hopefully we get some soul fragments. And those sometimes give me extra rerolls. But I can usually just like skip them. Unless there's something really important, but I mean, I need to get the armor as soon as possible. The armor is going to give me the biggest advantage. You know, extra primal damage. Okay, here we go. We already have quick strike. We already have counter throw? Yes. Oh, fuck. Okay, spike balls. Movement speed per life lost. Do we already have 5? Okay, like how many? Let's 1, 2, 3, 4. We need 1 more armor. So we need to collect some rerolls. Armor enhancement. Okay. Oh, you can rarity up later on. You can. Okay, so I don't need to do that. But it might be better to do it the way I'm doing it. I don't know. Reduce bleed rate. Or chance to spawn healing. I think. it's just, we need to upgrade all the runes. It's extra. Okay. Can we get some rerolls? Damage increase per life lost. Let's go. What we really need later on is going to be proc chance, because with proc chance it's going to stack, I'm pretty sure, with the Band of Primal Power, which will get us a damage in the millions. Rampage. You know, let's finish up our runes. You know that we need a dodge charge, chance for rare items, and damage to injured. We may have already gotten all of our armor, but I don't think I need to do that anymore. Plus, it looks like you can always increase the rarity later. I don't want to test that out this run, but it looks like it's already too late. So, we're already good. I think we're already good. We just need to focus on finishing out our runes and getting soul stones to upgrade strategically. Like, I think like health regen is going to be the most important. Once we capped out like damage reduced per life lost and stuff like that. Chance to spawn a healing soul. And here we go. Attack reach and movement speed. Okay, now let's go with Seismic Slam. Now needs chance to stun. Whirlwind has 2 more slots, and Leap has 2 more slots. Should we do attack reach? Yeah, let's do Giant's Reach before we do unlimited power this time. Let's just cap out all of our spells. Like, let's try not to go straight to unlimited power. Like, let's try to actually get our Giant's Reach out. I've been neglecting that the past few runs. But we're much more strategic this time around. We're using the old noggin. Spike ball versus spike ball. Increased proc chance. Increased pog champ. Whirlwind. Damage to Frozen, I guess. Survivability. Just that stat that we didn't have before, and I think I do have like, I did get like one, like 2.5% block chance, but okay, so then here. $503,000 damage. Just extra primal damage, I guess. Resistance piercing is also kind of a rare stat. We could do extra block chance. We need any dodge counters though. Next armor, if we see that, we need to get it. And increased barrier as well. Damage to healthy. Just do extra primal damage? That sounds like an... Oh, we need more crit rate. Like, what's going on? I didn't focus on that at all this run. But it's okay, we'll get there. We're gonna cap out movement speed eventually. So we need to like ignore that stat, I think, from now on. Okay, the rerolls. We already, okay, we got movement speed capped out. Yeah, let's do crit rate. Increase proc. We finally capped out Giant's Reach. Now we can start doing unlimited power. Okay. Getting those red souls. Extra chance to freeze. And rerolls. $420. Those extra passives really add up over time. I just hope I'll be good enough to get past 35. Our best is 35. Damage to elites. Crit rate. Reduce bleed rate. Increase proc. Mirage of Zaladon. Damage to injured and crit damage. Okay. Barrier. Crit rate. I guess. Red Soul. Healing. Resistance to piercing. Crit damage. Red Soul. We're on wave 31, Red Soul. Lost soul card. Get those soul cards. Hopefully we can spawn the infinite life glitch. Crit rate. And we can just go forever until we're bored. If we play our cards right, we can actually play infinitely. Until the game's broken. And then hopefully it'll give the developers more information. We're trying to break the game. I don't know if I'm gonna do it. I'm not that smart. But I can try. Do my part. Trying to break the game. A game that wants to be broken. This is like what these type of games are. They're specifically playing into the fact that they want people to break the game. Crit rate. I still have 7 life bars. So we're actually still not even at full power. Unless we cap it out before... Because, you know, you can always cap out your stats, like, if we get enough... extra block. Okay, let's kill the boss. Yeah, it does. Yeah, how far can I push it? That's the goal. And if I can push it infinitely, then we basically broke the game. But it's like the thing about infinite is you never know if something is truly infinite. If the game crashes, then we know we won. That's how you do it. That's the only way to win infinite waves, is if you actually crash the game and then you report it to the developer, like, you know, you screenshot it or whatever, send it to the developers, whatever. I'm sure they have a Discord. If I ever crash the game with my unlimited power, I think I need to report it. Yeah, here we go. Damage to injured. Oh, we're getting to the tough point. But we still have 7 life bars, so we haven't even scaled our damage yet fully. But we want to stay alive as long as possible. Try not to lose health bars as long as possible. You don't want to intentionally lose life bars, like, as much as that can do for your ego. How about just damage to frozen? Yeah, it's not even open beta, it's an alpha release. But I think alpha release actually means open beta nowadays. It's just word choice. This is definitely not an alpha release, or I would not even be able to have access to it. You know, in a true alpha release, the only people who have access to it are the developers. Like, that's a true alpha, you know, true alpha. What is this, like some kind of like AI-generated YouTube video of Pikachu telling you how to be a real man? But it's actually just generic advice that has nothing to do with whether you're a man or a woman or not. But everybody, it's like targeted towards, like, you know, men who are struggling. But actually everybody, these are common universal themes in life, and some people are just like, they attach way too much meaning to gender. And I think, you know, eventually people will evolve. I'm patiently waiting for people to evolve beyond gender. Like, hey, you're a man or you're a woman or you're non-binary, none of that really matters. None of that actually matters to anybody but you. It definitely matters to you, the individual. But, like, it doesn't really matter. And how you express yourself and how you're perceived are, like, there's so many factors involved beyond gender. Because you can be a man, but people will perceive you as a woman. Or you can be a woman and people perceive you as a man. Or androgynous, you know, regardless, as, like, basically non-binary or genderless. Like, so, like, if you're, like, a robot and you're, like, truly androgynous, I don't know how you could do that, because everyone's gonna lean towards either, like, gender neutral kind of leans towards male most of the time. Because most people, like, I don't know, there's something about masculinity that's kind of, like, blends into the background, and I think men like that. But also, like, there's prominent features that men can do to stand out. But also there's the same thing with women. Like, women can kind of blend in the background in ways too. So I don't really know. A lot of it is just perception, and that's so subjective. Like, some people, a woman is only a woman if she has large breasts. And that's really rude to women who have smaller breasts. And it's like, in the end of the day, just try not to be rude. Like, why are you being rude with your thoughts? Obviously, no one's going to control your thoughts. But, like, I feel like we need to have really... We need to curate, like, what we respond to. Or we fall into, like, mental traps. Because it's like, hey, is there a reason why I have this subjective opinion? Is it really hurting anyone? Probably not. But it might be like, you know, this like little min-maxing that you can do with your thoughts. you know, you may as well. You spend the rest of your life with your thoughts. You may as well think about how your thoughts affect you. You know, at least in my opinion. Okay, yeah, we got to the spiders. We're on wave 37. We've already outdone ourselves. So I think we did good with making sure we only picked up double rarity items, because it gives us extra passive abilities. And I was also very intentional, and I probably got some RNG with, like, you know, upgrades. But, you know, we're starting to lose life. But we also, you know, we're starting to stack up our damage reduction and stuff like that. Hopefully we can cap it. And hopefully we can level unlimited power enough. See, you can hold back the wave if you, and you might be able to level. Let's try to level up before we kill the boss. Wait, are we getting XP? Oh yeah, we are. Okay. Yeah, let's try to level up the boss before we kill it, because it freezes the wave. And we don't want to increase the wave until we've done at least one level in unlimited power. Okay, we're starting to take damage. Okay, I think it's unavoidable. We have to kill the boss. Will we make it? Will we make it? Okay, we're down to no more life bars. We're down to our last life bar. We need more healing. Barrier recharge or chance for rare items. Yeah, barrier recharge. Every little bit. Okay, Spirit Caravan. Unlimited power. Oh, we died. We have 38. Oof. We farmed 357 soul coins, 7 primordial soul coins, 81 corrupted soul fragments. We leveled up Irk, Jar, and Bick. We leveled up our faction to level 24. One more level in Barbarian, and we have to start. Let's actually start doing. After we do Barbarian, let's level up Thief Guild, because of the extra chance for rare items. Where's the, there's the Cult of Ku. Yeah, lunar damage. You know, that's not... These are all important. Yeah, our highest is 38 now. To finish out, let's do Moonfall Cliffs. We're gonna get more items and more faction XP. Trying to get level 25 Barbarian faction. Yeah, there are frame drops if I alt tab out momentarily, but like other than that, there's no real frame drops. Like this game is extremely well put together. I've been paying attention to like the streaming world for a while, and regardless of whatever you think about individual streamers, from a business standpoint, I think like OTK and friends and like Mad Mushroom. There's a reasons why I've kind of gravitated towards that community is because they really understand gaming and they understand gamers. And I think that's really important. And obviously, I feel like there's a lot of people with good intentions of like people really wanting to do something about the state of the world. But I agree with a lot of the gamers out there, not in the ways that they think, but I agree with a lot of the gamers out there. Like, you know, I know a lot of people don't like Asmongold, but he has an opinion about things that, you know, at its core, you know, I wish he wasn't such a butt about it, but, you know, whatever. I can't do that. Can't change that. That it's just, there's a reason why people don't want to buy games that are like really poorly put together, and then all they're trying to do is push a political idea, which is nothing wrong with pushing a political idea. You know, politics have been inherent in storytelling like since the dawn of time. It's a way for people to tell people what their values are and to try to push for change through storytelling. And that's like really important part of storytelling. You cannot have storytelling without direct, like real world, like that's what a writer does, is they take the real world, they observe it, and comedians do this too. They observe the world around them and they try to like provide commentary. But the thing is like, you can't replace good storytelling with political agendas. It just doesn't work. And you know, there's better ways to push those ideas than tanking your video game project. And yeah, like there's a reason, like you might not like it, but most gamers are appealing, like most gamers really just want to appeal to their fantasy. And a lot of people who play video games, not all, but a lot of people who play video games are men. And a lot of men, you know, not all men, obviously, a lot of men are very attracted to stereotypically, traditionally attractive women. And to erase women because you think it helps women, it's like you're erasing women who are stereotypically attractive. You're erasing women with larger breasts. You're erasing women, and it's like, yeah, you could say that like, oh, it's not realistic. There are women with like gigantic fucking breasts, okay? Like, and to like erase that just because you think it's gonna help feminism is like the most like stupid thing I've ever heard. Because it's like, I'm gonna help men grow by insulting them, by, you know, calling them perverts. That's disgusting. That is abusive towards men. How are you going to get rid of abuse towards women by turning around by being abusive towards men? You know, it's not something that a lot of people like to hear. There is a very real problem with misogyny, but you're not going to solve that problem by further pushing men away. You're going to solve that problem by hopefully solve the problem by, you know, having honest conversations. Like, hey, it's just a video game. Calm the fuck down. You don't need to solve all the world's problems in a video game, especially when you're not even the developer. And so I agree with that, with the Voldemort, on that one specific thing, not all the other surrounding things that his viewers sometimes, like, you know, obviously they're going to be, you know, like really hateful towards women, and they're going to use what he says to justify it. I think he could do better with that, but also he's just a content creator. There's ways I could do things better too. And like, I'm not trying to just be like loyalty. He doesn't give a fuck about me. Being loyal to him would have zero consequence for me. I'm not loyal to anybody but myself. But, you know, loyalty, like, is different than what people think. I think loyalty is more like, hey, like, maybe address what somebody talks about instead of attacking the person. You know, the person, I don't even know the person. Like, he's just some random dude on his computer making content on the internet. I don't have to watch every one of his videos. In fact, I don't. I only really pay attention when he's talking about something that I've like, you know, followed, like a subject. Like when he's talking about, you know, I really wish he would help. I really wish he would help out his viewers understand things better. He's kind of contributing to some of the perpetuation of the problem, but it's a symptom. It's like trying to go after people like Asmongold or any people like that, people that you assume are the problem. You're trying to fix the windshield wipers when your car is on fire. And this is the same thing with, like, you know, trans representation and stuff like that. You should be fighting for more than like some video game character representing you. Who the fuck cares? It might make you feel good, and feeling good, that's valid. I understand how, I mean, I had to fight through torture to get my surgeries to happen. Every little feel good moment was, you know, was a plus. But going to the point of like going after video game developers or you know, producers or whatever because their video game doesn't have gay characters or doesn't have a trans representation. Like, dude, you're trying to fix the windshield wipers when your car is on fire and about to explode. Okay, like, there are problems that need to be addressed that a video game is not going to solve. And by alienating the entire community, I have this gripe, and it's really hard for me to feel safe saying these things because people are going to take it out of context and it might impact my real life. Because I know a lot of people in the community. And I'm afraid that sometimes I might offend somebody. But you're gonna offend people. You can't... That's their problem. It's not my prerogative. It's... What I say is based in my understanding of the world, and what I see isn't working, is this absolute alienation of the trans community and the LGBTQ community. The fact that we even have to have a community in the first place. That is the real reason is like started in like, especially in the 60s. You know, with like the Stonewall riot, like that kind of stuff was like people saying, hey, enough is enough. And yeah, like, I don't want to like defend, you know, like people are gonna like, you know, glorify the riots, but riots shouldn't happen. The fact that there were riots is indicative of a problem. And we shouldn't have to get to the point of going to a riot or a protest like that. Especially when they're like, you know, I don't think violence is ever a solution. People are angry, and they're angry for a reason. But when you start pinning that blame on people who didn't do anything wrong, except make a video game that had women who had large jiggly breasts. What is wrong with that? That is their fantasy, and it's also a lot of women's fantasies because what are you gonna erase lesbianism? Are you know, you're gonna say that like, oh, it appeals to the male fantasy. What about the female fantasy? You know, women are attracted to women too. I know you don't want to accept it because you think that it's only perverted, disgusting men. Like, yeah, disgusting men should be called out. But they're not disgusting because they're men. They're disgusting because of their, you know, behavior towards women. Like, why are people, like, looking at the wrong things? I don't understand it. Like, I really don't understand it. Okay, we need, let's get execute. And the fact of the matter is like, even by talking about this, if somebody were to clip this, somebody is going to get offended by it. And I'm like the demographic of people that you're trying to help. And if you're harming all of us, because we should all be existing together, peace and harmony. That should, but you know, like, I don't care like what your beliefs are. We can't have a conversation if you shut it down. If you like cancel if you just like refuse to even have a conversation, if you resort to violence and like threats of like, we're gonna get you fired if you say that trans people are ugly. Like, okay, yeah, some trans people are ugly. Cancel me. Okay, I feel ugly sometimes. I'm a trans person, so that's true. I'm not even talking about other people. I'm talking about me. Sometimes I'm ugly. Deal with it. You know, women have had to deal with that, and unfortunately, yeah, like men have standards for women, and women should have standards for men too. And just because they're different in nature, you know, like men have their standards, and you might not like it. I don't really like it because sometimes men are just really rude and just like completely dismissive, and I don't like it. I don't like it when men are dismissive just because they assume things about you because you're like, they don't respect you because they don't respect women. Okay, those kind of men, I can see those red flags, and then but I'm not going to say, oh, all men are pigs. That's a disgusting. I mean, that's basically, if you flip it around, that's what incels talk about when they're talking about women. They say, oh yeah, women are just trying to, get free shit from their men. Yeah, like, yeah, don't ever date somebody who just wants a paycheck, or, like, they just want a room and board. You want to, it's like, dude, like, what the fuck? Like, there's so many problems with those people. Like, they have so many, personal hang-ups. And, like, insecurities. That's their own problem. And unfortunately, it affects a lot of women, and a lot of people are, I live in fear. And not only am I a woman, I'm also a trans woman. So I have to like constantly worry that someone is gonna like actually hurt me. So it's like, hey, like, I'm not trying to like say like, hey, like, I can't be canceled and like I have plot armor. Like, fuck that. What I'm trying to say is that like, hey, like, why don't people listen to my opinion? When I'm like in the demographic of the people that these people are claiming to be an ally to. Just because I'm different than everything they're used to. See, when people hear that you're trans, it's really kind of annoying. When people, especially straight people, but this happens with people in the queer community a lot. People assume that you have a certain personality. They assume that you like drag shows. They assume that you're like really into like saying like, you go girl, and like stuff like that. It's really frustrating because it's like, dude, like, why can't you just treat me like a person? You didn't treat that other person like that, but you said, oh, they're trying to learn, and they're trying. Like, that's what trying looks like, and it's not always pretty, and it's sometimes actually annoying. But the alternative is that they're not trying at all. So it's like, hey, choose your battles. There are, like I said, you should be asking for more than representation in a video game. Nobody cares. There's like freaking like thousands and thousands and thousands of video games released like daily. Nobody is gonna care about a character in a video game who's trans. And if you might like it, you might feel happy about it. You might feel like a little bit of a giddy feeling, but the thing is those video games, unfortunately, don't do well, but it's a reflection on a bigger problem. It's not the problem itself. It's just like how TV shows, like in the 90s, were kind of more sexist and homophobic and stuff like that. And it's like, it was only a reflection of what the TV show isn't the problem. It's just a reflection of what already is. And it's just kind of frustrating that, like, people don't really see that. And I don't know, I'm kind of like rambling on about it. I'm probably digging my own grave because I know a lot of people. I'm in a very progressive area, and I'm trying to do my part to try to like wake people up. Like, hey, like, you're hurting us with your constant screaming and shouting about people being transphobic or racist or that we don't have enough representation. I understand the frustration, but that should be directed towards improving your own life. And the frustration should be like, instead of, you know, going after things that don't matter, like a stupid video game that nobody's going to remember. Because it's just a video game. Even like a TV or a movie show, or like a TV show or a movie. In the end of the day, it's just entertainment. Nobody is going to, like, it's not going to change the world. Okay, like, I'm just, it's really frustrating from my point of view. Because every time I go into a space that's not LGBTQ, I feel ostracized. I feel othered. And I shouldn't feel, and I've been noticing this for a long time. It started with Discord. Because it's like I feel obligated to have a certain type of personality because people expect that from LGBTQ people. But that's a stereotype, and you're playing into the problem. It leaves a bad taste in straight people's mouths. And I know people like say, oh, it shouldn't be that way. Obviously. But it is. Because we live in reality. And I don't really know, like, what to do about this. Because every time I open my mouth, I feel like I'm ruining my life. And that's actually part of the problem. I should not have to censor myself in order to have, in order to feel like I'm not going to get opportunities taken away from me. But I guess that's just normal part of, you know, like, hey, you enter the arena, you're going to get dirty. That's just how it is. I don't know. Maybe I should just stop talking. No, there's a reason why why I feel like I need to talk about this. I should stop censoring myself. But some people aren't going to get it, and I might get opportunities. You know, maybe it's a dodged bullet. I'd rather work with people who are going to treat me like a human being and not treat me special just because I'm trans. Because even though that, yeah, that could be like beneficial to my ego or to my, you know, short-term gains, I don't think that's the direction we should be heading. We shouldn't be othering ourselves. We shouldn't be othering each other. If the goal is equality, then why are we punishing people for being different? We're doing the same thing that, like, the people who, like, maybe not the same exact thing, but we're doing the same kind of thing that people are doing to us. And I don't like it. And then it takes, like, you know, obviously, you know, there are unlikable people on the internet, like Voldemort, okay? You know, the Cockroach King. Everybody likes to hate on that guy. I think he plays into it. I think he wants it. I think he likes it. So, you know, it's like, you know, regardless of whatever he thinks, I don't know what he thinks. I only know what he says. And and what my opinion is. My opinion is that it looks like he wants the attention, so. Either way, I still think that just because you don't like a person doesn't mean that something they say isn't true. And I think this mentality that you should only respect people you agree with, I think that is toxic, and that leads towards othering. And, like, I know people don't like to hear this, but that's exactly what, like, the Nazis do. They think that some people are superior to others, and that some people should that their opinion matters more. That equality is not real. That we shouldn't have equality. There are people that believe that, and they're called Nazis. And people don't like to hear this, and I know it's like a and I don't want to empower the people. I don't ever think for a second that I'm empowering you, and when I'm saying you, I mean the people who are like, oh yeah, you know, they're Nazis. It's like, no, I'm not empowering you either. I'm telling both sides to shut the fuck up and start listening to each other. Like, shut the fuck up, stop going down these rabbit holes in your mind while you're further isolating your thoughts away from reality. Where stop going slippery slope into because somebody says something you agree with, and now you start to double down on your opinion about something. Like, no, the only thing that should really matter is objective truth, in my opinion. And the objective truth is that, like, hey, the tactics that we're using aren't working. Not really. Yes, there is solidarity, and I feel like, especially with the threats that are happening right now, it is more important than ever to stop fucking around. Stop fucking around on the internet and giving people who are LGBTQ and other status. We should put that energy towards legal advocacy, remaining calm and collected, putting that energy into focused efforts, which is what people are doing, by the way. And it's not the people on Twitter who are like getting angry at somebody for saying something racist 10 years ago, or canceling someone because they said something they didn't like, that they didn't like about trans people or something. Like, yeah, people are not gonna like you, and if you want true equality, you're gonna have to accept that. There's gonna be people who don't like me, and I have to accept that. Including other trans people. You know, there's gonna be a lot of trans people who don't like me specifically because I got the surgery. Do you know how petty that is? I know it sounds petty and it sounds ridiculous and that it couldn't be true, but it is. There are trans people out there who are going to hate me because I got success. Because I got what every trans person should get, which is transgender surgeries if they need them. That is fucked up. That is indicative of mental illness, and it needs to be treated, and I don't know what to do about it. I can't help them. Because I spent all this energy trying to advocate for myself, to get the surgeries I needed, and I'm happier for it. And I feel like life is worth living now. Now I feel, you know, distress over, like, you know, regular life stuff, like my living situation and like my social status and, like, you know, my career, you know, seems impossible, but I'm not going to give up, because that's what the way I got the surgeries, I didn't cry about it. I didn't complain about it. I didn't, like, put that energy into Discord or into, like, trying to cancel people on Twitter. I put that energy into advocating for myself and to going to every single day doing whatever I fucking could to make sure I could advance my surgery. I advocated for myself. I didn't complain. I mean, obviously, I whined about it a bit, but I took action. And that's what makes change. So if you can't get your surgery because you know, oh, they don't want to give me my surgery because, you know, the doctor doesn't like that I have, you know, that I'm overweight, or, you know, because I'm obese, the doctor doesn't want to give me the surgery. Well, then what is your goal now? Lose that weight. I know you don't want to hear it, but what's more important to you? Feeling good in the moment about like, oh, you know, I don't have to lose weight to feel good about myself. If getting your surgery requires you to lose weight, if the surgery is that important to you, you're gonna lose that weight. I don't care what you think about whether you should or shouldn't. That is the reality. Your doctor doesn't want you to sue them. And it's unfortunate that, you know, doctors are like that afraid of doing the surgery. But, you know, I had to basically cure diabetes in order to get the surgery to happen. It almost didn't happen. Do you know that? I talked about it on my stream. I talked about it, like, on, like, you know, I updated, you know, my audience about it. I almost didn't get the surgery. It was like going to be delayed infinitely unless I got my diabetes under control. But you know what I did? I felt the terror. I like felt the emotion. I processed it. And then I started going on 1-hour walks every day. I started going on runs like 2 days a week or bike rides. I started, you know, like really like using AI assistant to completely like find out what food I needed to eat. I checked my blood sugar like 20 times a day. Okay? And I got my A1C down from 7.2 to 6.7 in a month. And then I got back on the schedule, you know, after like, you know, the holidays. Unfortunately, I had to maintain that through the holidays in order to get back on the schedule. But I did it. So if, you know, a lot of people, and I don't want to call out specific people because I really, you know, this isn't based on any specific person. But there are a lot of people who can't get their surgery or even HRT because they aren't taking care of their health and their doctor doesn't want to jeopardize their life. However, you know, usually they'll start you on HRT if you know, because it's like, hey, if the risk of suicide is higher than like whatever long-term damage, and also, you know, at least you get started and then you're more likely to, you know, that's the reality is like once you get started on getting gender affirming care, you're more likely to then be healthy. So it's like, you know, it's a thing. But there are so many people out there, and I don't want to name names, but like I'm just trying to like give generic information. There are people out there, some people who have even been in my chat. I'm frustrated because my doctor doesn't want to give me the surgery, whatever that surgery is, whether it's like, you know, like for trans men or trans women. Like for trans men, it's like, you know, the breast, the double mastectomy, or for trans women, like the vaginoplasty, especially, or the you know, the facial surgery, or the, you know, or the, you know, breast augmentation, or, you know, whatever. You know, also some people like really want to do like the body contouring. These surgeries put a lot of stress on your body and you might die or have serious complications. And the surgeons, you know, they want to give you the surgery, but if you're going to have complications, it's going to have lifelong repercussions and it's going to be even worse dysphoria. If I had gone through the vaginoplasty and I lost like everything, if I lost the ability to orgasm, if I had serious complications that, you know, like ruined my surgery results, that would have had devastating dysphoria. So as much as I, you know, hated to admit it, I needed to listen to my doctor. But if, you know, there's people who are overweight, you need to lose some weight before your doctor will okay the surgery, which means that's your #1 priority. If you are truly struggling with gender dysphoria, and I don't want to like compare dysphoria, I don't want to diminish that, I don't want to invalidate that, but if you are truly suffering from gender dysphoria, you will do whatever it takes to get that surgery. And I don't care, like all this, like, you know, all this bullshit red tape we have to go through sometimes is like unnecessary. Maybe the doctors are being too cautious. Maybe that'll change in the future as we understand more. But unfortunately, we live in reality at the present moment, and there needs to be more research on transgender medicine and transgender surgeries. There, you know, and I'm a part of that. You know, I'm a data point. And I showed what works. You have to be in top physical condition, and you can do it. You know, like if you need to quit smoking, that's a big one. A lot of people can't quit smoking. Regardless of any surgery, this isn't even about trans people. Any surgery you get, you cannot get that surgery if you've been smoking nicotine in your system, smoking or vaping or patches or anything. Your #1 goal is to quit smoking if that's what's preventing you from your surgery. Your #1 goal is to lose weight if that's what's preventing you from surgery. Your #1 goal is to manage diabetes if that's what's preventing you from surgery. Because ultimately, after we got through all the waiting lists, after all the stuff that was outside of my control, it all came down to something that was 100% my control. And that's what made me scared. was because I was worried that I wouldn't be able to do it ever, and that my life was over. But I felt that, I processed it, and then I just put 100% of myself into getting to that surgery date. That's what it takes. Okay, and yeah, this has nothing to do with politics. This has nothing to do, and I know these things make you angry. If you're already struggling with trans medicine and a system that does not really want to help you, when you see somebody online say some bullshit opinion, you're gonna get extra mad. And you're damaging your own mental health. Do you understand? I used to get really mad at Asmongold. I used to get pissed off every time he said something. I used to comment on every single thing, like trying to change people. But then I still do that, but I changed my mindset. It's like he wasn't the problem. I'm the problem. Do you understand? And this is true for anybody, not just trans people, not just LGBTQ. That's my demographic, so I'm going to kind of like, resonate with that more. But like, we need to come together as a community and start acting normal. Okay? Obviously, when you're doing pride events, what happens in Vegas, that's fine. I'm all for like assless chaps, as long as there aren't children around. Like all that kind of stuff, anything that's like sexual should not be around children. I'm sorry, but there are people out there that are advocating for things that are just wrong. You should not be acting sexual around children ever. And so people who are trying to say, oh, it's homophobic, take a step back. Part of that is genuine concern for children. But people on the other side of the coin, stop doubling down on the fact that LGBTQ people look like, in your opinion, pedophiles. Because that's not the case. There are specific behaviors that are inappropriate, and I think they need to be addressed, and a lot of people agree with me, especially in pride events. If there's going to be like there needs to be adult only barriers for certain kinds of events. Okay, I don't think any reasonable person would argue with that. But the reason just because you're unreasonable doesn't mean you're always unreasonable. Okay, I've been unreasonable. But you need to take a step back and realize, hey, you're hurting the movement when you're doubling down on things that are harmful to the movement. And it's like, there are certain things that we shouldn't, when it comes to like what, medical decisions between, the reason why people are doubling down on denying, youth, I'm not a doctor. I don't know what a trans youth should do. That's not my decision, and it's not anybody's decision, but like, what is best for the patient? And that might be gender affirming care. I don't know that. But to say that gender affirming care is always the answer because you want to affirm trans people so much because you feel so buried underneath a deluge of hate, you're losing objectivity. Take a little bit of a step back, and that some things need to be like a little bit sacrificed. Now that doesn't mean everything. Okay, I know somebody might, obviously I'm not like a super famous person, so probably nobody's gonna hear this. But to anybody who potentially would hear this, you're gonna get mad at me for saying that. And I know why. And it's because you think that by quote unquote capitulating to the anti-trans movement, that's not what's going on. You're not capitulating to the anti-trans movement by thinking like a scientist, which is what doctors and scientists are doing for trans medicine, because they're going to advance trans medicine regardless of their political beliefs, regardless of your political beliefs, regardless of whatever social changes happen. Like, we need to stay strong. And I wish that I had more of, power in my life. I wish that more trans people had more power in their life. But we're not going to get it by hurting ourselves and hurting the movement and like advocating for things that hurt the movement. I mean, I don't really know any specifics, but like it's a case-by-case scenario, and we all need to be more objective in general. I think. But anyway, like I don't want to get worked up by this conversation because it brings up so much emotions. I have struggled so much. I have been impacted by transphobia. I have been impacted by I have been impacted by misogyny. I have been impacted by homophobia. I have been impacted by toxic masculinity when I was growing up. And it's still, you know, toxic masculinity is where misogyny comes from. So, no one's gonna solve all the problems. No one is. I know we want to. We want to like go on the internet and like become like warriors. We want to change the world. And maybe it's true. We can in small ways. Yeah, the biggest fear is that the people campaigning against trans people will take absolutely any shred of doubt or holding back and use it against those struggling. That is a real fear. It is a real fear. This is a war. Wars are not pretty. People die. Okay, this is war. Do you understand? Like, we need to do our best. And I need to do my best by like maintaining focus and realizing that I am just one person among billions. And that being trans is unique. And it does make me strong that I was able to get through all those surgeries. But I also need to take a step back and humble myself. Like, me being trans should not make me more like better than anyone else. Should not make me like, you know, more, it should not like let people become like more agreeable to my opinions just because I'm trans. You know, that's just like, there's a lot of social things I don't understand because I'm autistic. And you know, the same thing with autism. I am special because I'm autistic. But you know, like, autistic people challenge the status quo. We're disruptors. We have the power to like help people see things differently. And I don't know how to use that, and you can't control how people respond to you. However, you can take little teeny tiny adjustments to your approach to things, and maybe you can do better over time. And a lot of it, yeah, it's unfair. Life isn't fair. I will never be a cisgender woman. I will never look the way I truly want to look. I will always have hang-ups about my gender-related characteristics in my body. But here's the thing. Everybody has that. For trans people, it's very, like, extreme. But everybody has that. Everybody looks in the mirror and says, you know, I could be a little taller. I could be a little shorter. I wish I wasn't so fat. I wish I was skinnier. Or I wish I had more weight to me. I look like a stick. I wish my arms weren't so long. I wish my feet weren't so big. Whatever. Stop it. Nobody's asking you to accept these things blindly, but there are things that you can do to change things, and there are things you can't do. I can't make myself shorter. I can't undo my first puberty. And you know, this is where, like, you know, we should only really listen to scientists and doctors and all that about when it comes to transgender medicine for underage people. But there's a reason why puberty blockers are used. Is because if you go through your first puberty and you had the opportunity and the knowledge, understanding that that you could have prevented it, and you could have chosen the puberty that would have aligned with your gender identity, you will never be able to undo that first puberty. Just like you will, and you know, it's a risk you have to take. People take risks all the time. To all the people who are doubting, like, you know, trans medicine, people make decisions that are irreversible all the fucking time. People get married, start a family. Some people even like at the age of 14, 15, or 16. And people are usually, you know, against that. But I think there's some people who are saying, like, yeah, like, you know, they're supportive of that. Like, once they've proven, like, some people, like, use that as an opportunity to grow up. And they become stronger. But then a lot of people, it ruins their lives. And then now they're living in poverty, and they brought a... But, you know, I don't think bringing a life into the world is ever a mistake once it's happened. You know, this is the whole thing with, like, okay, you know, ending a pregnancy, that is a very personal decision, and I don't even have a uterus. But I also think that the statement, if you don't have a uterus, you shouldn't have opinion, well, that's ridiculous, because I have people in my life who do have a uterus. And, you know, and you know, trans men, you know, can sometimes get pregnant depending on their status on, you know, everyone's individual, like, health, you know, whatever they're doing, because, you know, there's a lot of, you know, medical, you know, jargon and facts that are just, you know, you can't really know everything about each individual. Everyone's different. But here's the thing is, from an early age, people are kind of sold this lie that if you go to college and get a college degree, you will be successful. Do you know how many people's lives were ruined because they're in crippling student loan debt? Because they went to college even though they didn't want to, even though they didn't have any drive to, even though they didn't have a plan. They just went to college because, oh, well, you know, my parents just, you know, told me to do that. And I just, you know, I was told that I would be successful if I, you know, if I went to college. And then they're in crippling student loan debt because they can't get a job in their field because they're not passionate enough about that career. You have to really be hungry in whatever you do, or you're never gonna make it work. You're gonna quit when it gets hard. And you're not gonna be able to quit because you're gonna be in crippling student loan debt and you have to pay all that off. That is a permanent life decision that is, like, burned into you from, like, early childhood. What is it, like, the military will come to, like, middle schools. I don't know if they go to elementary schools. Maybe they do nowadays, I don't know. But when I was in middle school, there was, like, the RSP, I forgot what it's called, not the RMT, whatever it was called, the RSVP, not RSVP, but, like, the military program. They would come and they would, like, influence, like, 13-year-olds on how, you know, hey, when you turn 18, well, actually, you can join the army with parental consent at 17. Did you know that? So I feel like, you know, if you're going to complain about, you know, children doing things that are irreversible, you should apply it universally. And that's something I agree with. I wish Asmongold would get that, because it's like, I feel like if he understood that, it applies to his general worldview is that you should apply things equally to everybody, which in a perfect world would work. Like, you know, like applying the terms of service equally, but, like, you know, like, whatever, like, it's an ideal. Ideals are generally unrealistic. But, like, you know, you can join the military, like the Army or the Marines, at 17 with parental consent. So it's like if somebody says, oh, but what about puberty blockers? Well, you could say that going through puberty is also irreversible. Just because it's biologically, like, where your body was geared, we understand better about psychology, and we live in a very different world than we lived in even, like, 50 years ago, even, like, 20 years ago. Our lives are not based on our biology anymore. We have cars, we have the internet, we have, like, phone, we have, like, supercomputers in our pocket, basically. We are not normal anymore. So, like, whatever we can do to make ourselves want to actually live with ourselves, I feel like, hey, if you want to join the army and that's your life, You want to go and like, destroy your body and destroy your mind, and like, that's my opinion. And also like, have irreversible life decisions made for you, like ending someone else's life, or putting your life in danger, or risking permanently losing an arm or a leg. Suffering lifelong injuries, which is what you sign up for when you join the army, because they're going to make you combat ready. And in order to do that, they're going to break you down. And that's not good for your mental health long term. It's good for, doing what the army needs from you. It's exactly what needs to happen in order to turn you into a soldier. But that's not good for civilian life. That's not good for the rest of life. As a cis guy who grew up in a deeply conservative Eastern European country, I had a hormonal imbalance as a teen and had to get a double mastectomy and testosterone boosters. And nobody batted an eye. Yeah, exactly. People do it for cisgender people all the time. Sometimes medical intervention for the individual is necessary, and doctors know this. And parents who are more like concerned for their child's well-being. And I'm not saying that people who are like having deeply held beliefs about what, obviously I can't control how people raise their kids. It's up to them. And I don't know what's right and wrong all the time, because who really knows? Your life is pretty much fucked up from birth, and whatever happens, happens. Hopefully you make decisions based on like, long-term discussions, iterative, and this is what trans medicine is. And from my understanding, my limited knowledge of trans medicine for youth is that it starts with just basic like social affirmation. Like if your child is assigned male at birth and they want to wear like girls' clothes and be called a girl, like, female pronouns, I don't see what the harm in doing that is, because if it's not true, they're going to correct you. They're going to say, oh, wait, no, I don't feel that way anymore. And they might actually feel that way, but at that point, affirming, you should affirm their gender regardless. If they say they're cisgender, you should affirm that. If they say they're transgender, you should affirm that. But either way, you're there for them. And you're going to do, the medical system has a system in place to prevent harm. And yeah, obviously there are going to be some dog shit parents. There are like, the anti-trans movement likes to cherry pick these like scenarios. There are cases where parents are actually brainwashing their kids. But this is true for anti-trans people as well, because there are parents who brainwash their kids into hating black people. Okay, so everybody's getting brainwashed every now and then. Okay, but to say that is indicative of a problem of trans medicine as a whole, it's just like, that's just intellectually dishonest. And I think people get really obsessed with gender-related things because biology tells us that the vast majority, and this is actually true, the vast majority of people are either going to be, male or female. And then there's variances with like intersex and all sorts of like, there's also psychological and spiritual things to consider. There is a spiritual component to transgender identity. Just like there's a spiritual component to anybody's life. That's why people go to church. There's a spiritual component to gender identity, in addition to the social aspect of it. People are going to be pressured not to disclose that they're trans if they're in a highly conservative environment, because social exclusion is real. Because if you say that, hey, I think I'm a girl, and you're in a very like, kind of right-wing community, all your friends are like, really anti-trans, you're gonna get a lot of shit. And unfortunately, I don't know what we don't live in a perfect world. The solution is to like, change your environment. But I'm still struggling with changing my environment, using all the resources I have available to me. And I have a lot of resources. I'm really fucking lucky. But in the end of the day, like, we as individuals cannot answer or solve everybody's individual problems. And I think, like, everybody needs to take a step back sometimes. Trans people, anti-trans people, allies, whatever. Everybody needs to take a step back and say, hey, dude, you're just on your computer scrolling through social media. That is literally what's going on at that moment. And you might be passionate about something that you're talking about, which is fine, but screenshot it, add it to your collection of writing, which is what I do. I see it as an intellectual exercise more and more nowadays. When I comment on an Asmongold video, I'm trying to collect my worldview and like refine my storytelling. Like, take a little bit of something. Here's an opportunity for me to touch on this subject. I can't change people's minds. That's up to them. But what you can do is you can kind of just put your, spread your seed out into the world and water it. And hopefully it'll grow. And I can do what I can. I can do what I can to, like, maybe, like, min-max, like, how I approach a conversation. Right? And it's like, people really, cisgender people are really getting erased a lot of times in the transgender conversation. And I agree with that. I think cisgender people matter. There's a lot of them. And to exclude ourselves from the cisgender community, to make ourselves othered, I feel like that defeats the entire purpose of transitioning. For some of us, yeah, like, I am very proud of my ability to have stood up for myself and my needs, and to have gotten the surgeries. But that doesn't mean I have to, it kind of gets a little bit exhausting to talk about it all the time. And that's just reality. That has nothing to do with, like, oh yeah, you're just giving into the anti-trans rhetoric, or, like, no, that's not what's going on. This is a personal decision that I just want to move on. Unfortunately, because of the anti-trans movement, it's thrust on me. It's thrust upon me that even if I try to avoid talking about my transgender journey, it's thrust on me. It's absolutely thrust upon me. Because it's like, people will make it political. I'm inherently political just by existing, and I can't change that. Hopefully I can just kind of, like, try to navigate the world, and hopefully things will change, and they already have started to change. As much as people say that, like, this feels terrible because of, like, extreme anti-trans rhetoric going around, you know what I also see? I also see people standing up for trans people. I see judges saying this is a waste of the court's time. These issues don't affect anybody except, like, 1 or 2 trans people in a county. Like, it's a waste of taxpayers' money. Even if there are problems sometimes, like, what about school lunches? What about roads that need to be fixed? What about clean drinking water? What about affordable housing? What about the homelessness problem? Like, there's so many things that could be focused on, but they're, like, hyper-focused on, like, the smallest group of people. Well, I should say the smallest large group of people. Because there are a large amount of trans people out there, but, like, compared to the rest of the society, we're a very, very, very small minority. So it's like, when they do these, like, initiatives to, like, ban, high schools from allowing quote-unquote biological males. When you say words like that, it's deeply rude. People will be intellectually dishonest and say things like, "Oh, but I'm just being accurate." Like, no, you're not. You know that when you say biological male about a trans person, you are trying to get people mad. You are trying to hurt somebody. Stop it. Stop lying to yourself. you are uncomfortable about trans people, which is, you know, it's not okay, but like, it's valid. You know, validation works both ways, by the way. I know the LGBTQ community likes to talk about validating. What about the valid thoughts? And, you know, a lot more of the reasonable people, you know, a lot of people are very reasonable. I had a lot of, meeting a lot of people in the LGBTQ community opened my mind a lot. There are a lot more reasonable people in the LGBT community than I figured was ever possible, because most of my exposure to LGBTQ was on Twitter. And when I started meeting people in real life, I'm like, whoa, like, this is not what I thought it was. Like, people are very reasonable. Very reasonable. Like, insanely reasonable. And it's like, okay, like, I get why people are transphobic. It's because every time they see a trans person, it's on Twitter or some batshit person on TikTok. Yeah, nobody cares about trans men. I mean, welcome to manhood. I mean, as somebody who grew up assigned male at birth, that's a reality of being a man. So you kind of signed up for that. I'm not trying to like be hateful or anything. I'm just saying, if you're a man, nobody gives a fuck about men. You signed up for that. If you're a trans man, like, you're gonna blend into the background. People are gonna be afraid of you. People are gonna cross the street. When you, like, women are going to cross the street when they see you walking on the same, you know, sidewalk at night. That's just reality of being a man. I'm you know, there's reasons, like, you know, those kind of things really, like, make you feel gender dysphoria as a woman. And that's why I transition, so I won't feel that as much. But obviously, yeah, I still have, you know, more masculine traits than most women, but at the same time, hey, I need to stop that. I'm a fucking goddess, okay? Like, I'm fucking gorgeous. Stop, I have pretty privilege, okay? Stop it. Like, boo-hoo, Rebecca, come on. Full head of hair, like, beautiful hair, beautiful skin. I worked on it, though. But some of it is just genetic, and nothing I did changed that. Like, yeah, like, I take care of my nutrition and my physical health and my mental health as best as I can. But in the end of the day, like, you know, some things are just genetic, okay? See some armor boost as bonus for reduced damage taken for life loss? There is a cap. There is a cap. But yeah, I do that. I have resilience capped, and I try to find armor that does that. But at the same time, it's much better for survivability if you do more damage. And so I think stats like damage to injured enemies and stuff like that, I think those are actually better. Like critical damage. Or critical crit rate. I think critical crit rate is more important. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. This is part of the game. Like, you know, you just... Yeah, I know we kind of got sidetracked from the gameplay for a while, but that's actually kind of the nature of streaming. You know, sometimes you really get like a flow state. And when you get in that flow state, you know, you can kind of really talk about like things in a way that normally you wouldn't talk about. And I think like recognizing that is like the first step to recognizing that not everything that I say on stream is as important as I think it is. However, I think being able to utilize that and like, you know, maximize on my ability to like go into a complete flow state about a conversation, but not being blind to things. I can like maximize on like, you know, the impact I can have on my creative output, which is not about the stream all the time. It's like creative output, in my opinion, is about building an overall, it's like going for, you know, I'm going to use like what I'm pursuing for example, being a model, depending on what type of model you are, but like, being healthy, taking care of your physical appearance, which involves like, you know, not necessarily losing weight, but like being like physically active, having a, you know, you know, keeping your body like healthy. Like that's something that I forgot what I was gonna say. Why I brought this up. That's something. There are things that you do that aren't going to be immediate. That aren't going to have immediate results. So like going to the gym, it's good for your body, but it's not necessarily gonna. I mean, you're spending money to go to the gym, for example. So it's like sometimes you're not going to be, you know, this grind set that always people have. There are different things to grind. You don't have to only be grinding, making money. And for example, like as a writer, I'm trying to focus my thoughts. And you know, AI has also helped me organize my thoughts more. What I do is like when I'm in a flow state, I'll use what's happening in the stream moment as a way to solidify my viewpoints and understand like, hey, like what is one way I can talk about this topic? And then later I can remember that, or even like go back into the VOD or a clip or something. And I'm like, hey, like I remember saying that, like, here's what else I want to add to that. And I can write it down and put it into my notes. Now, nowadays I'm having a really hard time with the sheer amount of output that is on the internet. It feels like there's just impossible to make it as a writer. I think I should put my focus into my novels, because I think my novels are gonna have, I think, deep work rather than like I tried doing the whole social media, journaling or like journalism kind of thing. There's just too many people who are like absolutely like they have like teams of people like figuring out like how to beat the algorithm and like exactly what you need to. It's like I can't do that. I don't have the resources for that, at least at the moment. But what I can do is I can kind of like build up my overall worldview and my intellectual honesty. And I can sometimes utilize like, you know, flow state that happens even sometimes in a live stream playing a video game. Yeah, and you know, this is also like, yeah, I should keep talking about these issues. I am in the middle of the storm, and I'm one of the people that, I'm a success story. You know, I'm successful in ways that most people in the world never get to. And I don't want to say this in a weird, I don't want people to think this in the wrong way, but I'm successful in a way that only people who become millionaires are successful. Like that kind of success. Doing something that is so above and beyond normal that people see it as like inspiration. But it's a weird situation because I'm not financially successful and I'm not outwardly socially successful, that it's a very weird situation. I feel like a millionaire, what I assume a millionaire would feel like. As far as accomplishment, I did something that most trans people will never get to. Like that's a big deal. But most people will never fully recognize it. It'll mostly go quietly. So like I have a lot in common with like extremely successful people. I am extremely successful. But it's like a spiritual success. It's a quiet success. Like people don't. Yeah, see, it's capped at 75% because I've already lost. See, I can't improve the stat when it says when it has the parentheses here. It means it's capped because I have resilience, damage taken, reduced per life lost. It caps at 75%. So any additional stats aren't going to do anything. So I need to put it into other things like crit damage, like movement speed. I already capped movement speed. Yeah, so I mean, I'm providing valuable information. The thing I'm worried about, like the thing I'm actually worried about the most, and maybe I just need to get over it. The thing I'm worried about the most is that someone in the LGBTQ community who is going to have a direct decision over my career is going to take something I say and twist it and ruin my life. Or at least not ruin my life, but deny me an opportunity that would give me an opportunity to grow my career and get myself out of poverty. When I'm in a situation right now where... Oh, for the red boss. Oh, you're talking about that. Yeah, the red boss. Yeah. That's, you know... What I'm worried about... I feel like a lot of people are worried about. But at the same time, I think it's a slippery slope to have that mindset. Because as soon as you start capitulating to people... Like, what about the people, you know... I might miss out on an opportunity, but then what if I gain other opportunities because I stood my ground? And somebody who saw that and they respected that. So maybe I should just get the fuck over it and stop making excuses. I don't think I'm denied opportunities because of what I say on social media. I highly doubt that. And also most people in the queer community I've met have like really liked me and have agreed with me in a lot of things that I say. Now, I think, like, the method I say things, I think it could be taken out of context. But then now I have something with people like Asmongold. I have something in common with him with that. I'm sure he worries about that, you know, all the time. You know, it's affected him. He's lost a lot of opportunities because of saying opinions online. I need to collect these cards before the ritual ends. Can you actually kill these? If I can actually kill these one day, I actually want to see what happens. Like, if I can get so much, like... I don't know how you would be able to do it, but, like, I mean, I would assume, like, obviously damage reduced per life lost, get enough unlimited power, some kind of mechanics, but, like, damage reflected on block, all sorts of stuff. You only need 12.5% from gear. No, it was because it stacks higher the more, it stacks higher the more damage meter, and I was at 3. I had 3 left. And so because I had 3 left, it had reached the cap. But it's good to get the gear. It can increase your survivability. So yeah, I mean, just for fun, let's go try it. Let's try to min-max as much as possible. Damage to elites. Barrier. Slayer's Blade. Oh, first of all, before we get the armor, let's get the levels. So that we can see the stats. Now we might want to... I think we're gonna have to go with the primal damage. Now we're not gonna need whirlwind. Well, I mean, let's get freezing vortex. Okay, and so I think teleport is actually going to be our movement ability. Okay, damage to elites. Oh, we need that movement speed per life lost. Damage to elites. We can probably get the movement speed or life loss with armor. Let's just get some. We can get all this with armor. Let's get that damage to elites and primal damage. Okay, and then, well, let's get the runes. Oh, wait. And then... I don't know if we really need that. We're gonna get attack speed. We're gonna get dodge charges probably from gear. And this one, okay. Block stat, I have no idea how any of the stats work in the game. I'm trying to have like an actual pure, what rune are we gonna put on teleport? Oh, yeah, there we go. Okay, Slayer's Blade. Chance to stun. Damage increase per life lost. And crit rate. Freezing Vortex. We're gonna do Pack Reach. Okay, and this is gonna be... Let's actually make this... There's crit damage. Damage to stunned. And... extra primal damage. And that's it. And then now get our armor. Okay. Okay, counter throw. Yeah, let's get that. Movement speed per life loss, but the concentrated shot. Instant attack. Dodge charge. Extra dodge charge. global damage, chance to stun. And quick strike, dodge charge. Yeah, and so the dodge charge is just gonna work with the edge of darkness. Extra. Okay, so we're gonna see how this goes. I think teleport was a good choice. Yeah, it's just too powerful without leveling up anything. I need to level up all the runes. Those are actually like really important because they're all like really low level. I need to level up all my passives. It's like right now I have counter throw, it's level 0. I think we gotta like level up. Am I, oh, there is no XP. There's just enemies. I think using teleport is gonna be, and like capping out my dodge charges is gonna just wear him down like slowly. Oh, he's stealing flesh. This is only phase 1. This is only phase 1. Like some Elden Ring shit. Yeah, it's not gonna work. Ranged I don't think ranged abilities work if you don't have a ranged weapon. I think it's just useless. I'm not sure about that though. We need to finish out. We need to get to level 25. Let's do the coastal. Let's do these sun rituals. We get extra drops on regular rituals than on arena. Heine. A thief with hella dodge charges? Yeah, I mean, none of this is really going to matter until we've actually leveled up all the abilities. Like, like I said, we have a lot of farming to do. I also need to level up all my weapons. Like, level up all the... First of all, leveling up all the runes is a lot harder because you can't do that with soul coins. You have to do it with just farming them. They just drop randomly. So you have to actually just keep farming. So like we're in a deep farming. Like, I mean, it's good that we're like, you know, parsing our damage with the boss as like a, you know, seeing like, I did better that time than the previous times. There's only so much we can do with like our build. We can't really do a whole bunch if if things haven't been like leveled up. Some of it's also mechanics. Like there's like little things throughout the map, like with like throwing out shurikens and stuff. Oh, I actually might need to go soon. I think I might have an appointment. Let me just... I need to turn off my camera for a second. Just like checking my email. I might have an appointment coming up. I might have to end the stream. Okay. Oh yeah, here's another thing that like people get mad about when it's weird that people get mad when people declare their pronouns. Like, can you just grow the fuck up? Like, it makes things easier, especially when there's so many like non-binary. There are like more and more non-binary people, or just people. I think a lot of non-binary people are. I think I don't want to speak for everybody. Maybe this is a little bit offensive to say, but I really do think that like a lot of people who declare themselves as non-binary, they're just questioning. They're trying to figure out who they are. You know, it goes beyond gender. I think like when people actually start like when they come out as non-binary, I think it's a bigger coming out. I think they're coming out as a human being, and they're trying to find who they are. Like whether they're cis or trans, they're thinking about their identity. They're thinking about like, what kind of man are they, or are they trans, or like there's all sorts of stuff, and I think that should be like, you know, respected and not like seen as some kind of like mental illness that all these freaking anti-trans people are. But at the same time, I really think that, you know, people should also recognize the other side of the equation, that like, hey, like sometimes like people should be allowed the space to question things, but then it's like we need to, as individuals, it's very important to differentiate between things that are driven by frustration and things that are genuinely like parts of our spiritual journey. Because it is a spiritual journey, and a spiritual journey can come in many forms. Like a spiritual journey will like take, you know, it'll look different for the individual. But I really do think that like most of the time people should just like mind their own business. I think that's like the root of all of these problems. From whatever side of the equation you happen to be on. If you're a cisgender person and you're just kind of like, you know, frustrated with how like all this LGBTQ stuff is just frustrating. It's like, it's just, I don't get it. Like, whatever. Like, I'm tired of talking about it. I wish that we could move on, but apparently we can't, because people are just gonna force it on us. Like they say, hey, why do you have to make everything political? And it's like the person who got mad made it political. And it's like, dude, that's not my fault. I was just trying to get all my surgeries, and I'm just trying to, you know, live my life now. I'm not trying to make it political. But it's thrust on you. And then I think a lot of the times when something is truly like political, it's thrust on you. You know, a lot of thrusting. Yeah, but would it make sense to have this chat shrunk in the bottom right corner? No, I don't like doing that. Because it puts too much control over the content of my stream into people that might come in here and like, you know, say something I don't want to show up on stream, which as a trans person, you get a lot of those types of people. It doesn't always happen. But it's, you know, I'm not like a super popular, I don't get a whole bunch of viewers. So, but it scales with the amount of viewers you have. So every now and then I get hate rated by like some losers, and they try to get me banned, or they try to say like the N-word in chat. You know, even though I have like so many filters, there's a whole bunch of things people try to do to like disrupt my vibe. I don't like the chat controlling my vibe, so I will pull up the chat like this, If like, or I'll screenshot something, like I can screenshot like, yeah, I mean, there's a lot of things. I mean, I've been streaming, you know, even though I'm not like a huge like high view count Andy, I've been streaming for about 6 years. And so I've kind of been through a lot of that kind of stuff. Now, I just hope that one day, you know, I'll be able to, you know, maybe streaming will be a part of my, you know, my overall, you know, content creation, income generation, but that's not the goal. I'm trying to do things like right now that are bigger, like things even outside of the internet. I'm trying to do things that are going to level up my life so that I can then be in a better situation, in a better position to have creative freedom. And it's really hard right now to like see the whole picture. But I'm trying. Like, I'm really trying. This is probably going to be my last ritual. I'm going to head out, though. We have been streaming for 2.5 hours. I really don't want to overdo it today, because I have, like, a whole bunch of stuff coming up outside of the internet. That are going to be kind of exhausting. I have to do some interviews. For some programs, for some resources. This is what I'm talking about. Like, I'm getting additional resources again. And you know, that's what I need to pay attention. That's how I need to focus on. Is regardless of how things feel right now, like, hey, like, I'm taking steps to acquire additional resources, which is going to make me more likely to be successful. Regardless of whatever stage. Like, right now I'm in a stage where I'm just trying to get, you know, financial independence, you know, a better living situation, a healthy environment, and a sense of community. That's not really going to happen until I have the right resources. And then when I have those resources, we're going to enter a new phase. A stage where I'm going to be able to grow my career. Where I'm going to be able to make, like, you know, leaps and strides in my creative endeavors. And then from there, I don't know. Like, you know, maybe personal, spiritual fulfillment, maybe relationship goals, who knows? But I'm not there yet. I'm still at, like, you know, I just want basic, you know, I have a lot of my basic needs met. So I'm not at that stage anymore. I was, you know, like, you know, back in, like, I was homeless for a while, like 2010 to 2014. I'm not like struggling for basic needs anymore. I have a lot of resources now that I didn't have before. So like right now, I'm trying to get those resources kind of to a more sustainable and healthy environment, so I'm not being dragged down by my constant like anxiety and stress management. Just by my situation is just constantly bringing me down. But, you know, hey, like, I have an interview tomorrow, and I have an interview, on Friday. Two different resources. That's two different resources that I'm going to have access to help me, be successful. On top of what I already have. Like, I noticed there was like there's a lot of lacking resources right now, and so hopefully these new resources, I'm not getting my hopes up like I did last time. Like a year ago, I got my hopes up really high, and I got really disappointed because they haven't helped me yet. But it really was a huge win, because now, because of those resources, I'm going to have additional resources that wouldn't have been available if I didn't reach out and get these resources. So, you know, it is really positive overall. My life is like leaps and bounds ahead of where it was. And, you know, so it's just like this game, you know, you just like take one ritual at a time, you farm, we try to figure out how to beat the boss, we parse, and then we execute. And then we collect data, we parse, we collect data, we analyze data, we execute. And it's just an infinite cycle of growth. So in a lot of ways, this game can be seen as, you know, like I could utilize it somehow. And use it as a tool. I'm like wearing some kind of hood, but I'm in my underwear. Yeah, I'm actually like starting to get a little lightheaded because I haven't eaten. Just 1 second. Yeah, I think just getting some milk for right now. Yeah, I don't know. My day will come. It might not happen on Twitch or YouTube, ever. But I don't want to never say never, as well. Because it's possible I might be more successful than I could have ever possibly imagined on those platforms. But I have some realistic goals for myself. I'm being very consistent with my content creation, with camming, and I'm creating like good, strong mental barriers, boundaries for myself, because you should never allow your boundaries to be crossed. And that includes boundaries from yourself. And so it means I'm not working as much as I could technically be. I could technically be ignoring my boundaries and my mental health and my physical well-being in order to make some cash and some short-term gains. But I'm trying to create something that's sustainable for the rest of my life. And in order to do that, I need to maintain a healthy mental. I need to make sure that, like, hey, right now, if all I can do is 3 hours of work a week across 3 days, or maybe 3 to 4 hours, potentially 6 to 8 hours, depending on how I feel that week, that is still consistency, my friend. That is still, showing up and making progress. And over time, that'll stack. I'm pretty damn sure. And opportunities will, become apparent. And I can't solve all those problems right now. But I know that I will be able to solve those problems when the time comes. So I'm not worried about my ability to eventually be successful. Everything, like, at some point, you're gonna accidentally get success in some form. Like, it's just gonna happen. Like, eventually things are outside of your control. You'll be successful whether you want to or not. And I'm pretty damn sure that's the case. Do I even have any dodge charges? We have a lot of leveling up of the runes. So this is going to be a really long farm. It might take us like months. How do you reconcile that with the kind of attitude you were describing and doing absolutely anything to achieve the goals you've set? What do you mean? Oh, like, you know, oh, right. Well, when it's life and death, I mean, you could say that, like, financial success is life and death. But I'm talking about, if you sacrifice your mental in order to achieve one thing, you didn't solve the problem. And, like, I mean, you have a good point. I think there's a balancing act. I should be able to push myself every now and then. But I need to, like, always, like, maintain sustainability. Because if I sacrifice my mental to get one success, then, like, how am I going to be able to maintain that success if I've sacrificed something for it? Like, you're gonna make sacrifices, but I think, like, there's a difference between dedicating yourself towards, like, quitting smoking or losing weight. Those are sacrifices, like, you know, that you're making to improve your life. But when you're making sacrifices to improve your life, but that sacrifice is a detriment to your life, then it's like you're not really changing anything. You're shifting one problem to another. And so it's like I want to have sustainable, like, positive reinforcement over time. And then if I get a huge opportunity, I might be willing to temporarily sacrifice my boundaries or my values or my mental for a temporary amount of time because I have a big reward. But most of the time you don't have that guarantee. If there's, like, an actual, like, concrete opportunity, you should jump on it. I'd be kind of stupid not to. But, like, with my everyday, like, kind of actions, I want to have sustainability. If there's no guarantee of success, I want to create, like, small little victories over time. It's almost a lot like in this game. Like, you're farming up for XP. You're not always fighting a boss. Sometimes you want to kind of just hang back and just farm, right? So I guess, like, you could use this game as a way to, like, you know, embody what we're talking about there. Like, sometimes you want survivability. You don't want to just do heavy damage, but sometimes doing heavy damage is what's going to create the survivability. So you have to, like, be able to, like, collect the information in that moment. Why did I do crit? Oh, I did the wrong one. I forgot which one I was doing. I was trying to convert chance to freeze. Yeah, I really don't think that, like, I mean, you shouldn't take anything I say as gospel. I have a lot of gaps in my knowledge and in my wisdom. I'm just a random person on the internet, so keep that in mind. And I'm also still in the process of trying to find my success, whatever that looks like. So there's information I'm lacking. I really screwed up my build this run. It's about time to go anyway. I'm getting a little lightheaded. I need to eat breakfast, like not just a glass of milk. Yeah, and so it's like, you know, when it comes to like long-term goals, I think it's like, I feel like when it comes, I was talking specifically about transgender surgeries, okay? Like that's once in a lifetime kind of things. When it comes to like everyday things, I think it requires a bit of a different approach. Like your ability to sustainably, like, you know, take care of your everyday needs, like your basic needs, like your financial needs, like those I feel like should be approached with more of a long-term mindset. In my opinion, because it's like, I'm not guaranteed short-term goals. I don't know if sacrificing my boundaries and sacrificing my barriers for the everyday things that I do towards my goals will even yield the success that I want them to. And like I said, I think like if you put it into the, I mean, I guess it makes sense if you put it in terms of the sense, like if we put it into a comparable situation, if like what I was talking about was do whatever it takes to get the success for the surgery, translate that into, let's say you get a once in a lifetime business opportunity. You're going to want to set everything aside to focus on that opportunity. Most of the time, we don't get those opportunities. Like, most of the time, you don't get this, like, hey, like, you have a new job, but you're going to have to move. And you're going to have to, like, okay, well, like, that's a big life change. But you're going to have to, like, take that risk sometimes. You're going to be living in a new environment, new community. That is something that's going to likely happen to me eventually. I'm going to have to face that. It's a regular life milestone. It's a part of life. Every now and then you're going to have to put yourself into a situation where you're not going to have the same, you're going to have to move to a new place for a job opportunity. No, I'm not going to do that unless I have the opportunity. I'm not going to do it just to challenge myself. I could. But right now, I should focus on the long-term, realistic options that are available to me right now. I have, like, a bunch of systems in place that I'm waiting. Like, it takes time. There's wait lists. There's things outside of my control. I'm putting all the things that I can put. I'm putting all my ducks in a row. The things that I know will work. The slow, steady burn. I'm focusing all of my energy on that. And I'm on the lookout for opportunities all the time, every day, always on the lookout for opportunities. And if I get an opportunity that requires me to set things aside for a little bit and do things in a new way for a short term, for a specific opportunity, that's different. That's like getting the surgery. Then you need to do everything possible to make that work. And some things might not work out too well, but at least I try. Like, I want to audition for a play at some point. Right now I don't feel capable of that. I took a semester off from classes. I want to take dance again this summer though, and I want to take acting classes again in the fall, and I want to try auditioning for one of the productions. Even if I don't get the part, I'll do my best. And sometimes you're not right for any of the parts. And that's just how it goes. There's somebody more, who deserves the part more than me. Bravo. They did it. If that were me, I would feel happy for myself and proud of myself. And so if somebody else got that part, they deserve that part. It's fair, but it's not fair to me. But like, it's fair to the person who earned it. Yeah, I mean, sometimes, yeah, I'm congrats on your partner and you, for being able to capitalize on an opportunity. You know, sometimes you get opportunities just landing on your lap. And it's like, hey, you have a critical decision to make. Do you stop the, you know, with the tried and true that might not really be going anywhere, at least in the short term, to capitalize on a short-term opportunity that might actually level up all your long-term opportunities? You know, that is really important, and I'm looking out for those. Like, I'm on the lookout. I'm on the lookout. I think I'll be fine one day. Eventually. I think eventually I'll be fine. I think it's been really hard to weather this storm, but I got all my surgeries. I made that happen. And at the beginning of my streaming journey, I was still in the closet. In 2019, I was, you know, really putting 100% of my energy into chess and teaching chess for some very small amount of income. Working with kids, which is extremely stressful on my mental. God damn, kids are insane. I do not want to work with kids ever again. So much pressure, and they're just unpredictable, and you have to deal with parents. It's like okay, like ugh, it's just a mess. I'd rather work with adults, especially since I'm an adult performer. I don't want to be putting myself in that situation where parents are gonna get weird. You know, like obviously the kids, you know, are oblivious. But it's the parents who are much more, it's always parents who are like overprotective, but it's like, hey, like there's a reason, like the things that you're thinking about me are because you're an adult. Like, like the kids don't think that, they just see reality. And I'm actually really good with kids. I'm like, you know, kids really, like I don't talk down to them. I'm really careful around them. And like, But ironically, like, just because you're good around kids doesn't mean I want to be. I would prefer not to be around children, ever. But, you know, it's like, I was putting 100% into that, and then I started streaming on Twitch, and I thought, like, oh, you know, hey, like, maybe I'll get, like, you know, a whole bunch of money donated to me or something. Like, I was really naive. But, you know, I started streaming in 2019, and like eventually you know, like you start focusing on what matters. At least I do. I found that out about myself. Maybe it's not common. You know, most people, I think, just kind of ignore things. I was ignoring things for a while, but eventually, like, at least I found out with me, you spend enough time in your own thoughts. You spend enough time talking to into a microphone. You start to iteratively find like what really matters to you, like who you really are, and like what things you want to put out into the world, and what things truly enrich you and your values. And I started iteratively, and I'm still in that process, iteratively finding like what really matters. And I'm like, I can't run away from the fact that I am a transgender woman. I could try to be a man as much as I can, but my life kept getting worse. My mental kept getting worse. My actions were getting worse. I was getting more and more erratic. And like, just, it was terrifying me. What kind of person I was becoming by running away from this. And I was like, okay, well, I could just keep doing more of the same thing, or I could try something different. Take some fucking estrogen, get my surgeries. And I did it. And so, you know, like, streaming did that for me. Yeah, I gotta go too. I gotta make breakfast. I can't, you have to have more than just a yogurt and some milk. I have some oatmeal with some peanut butter and chia seeds and collagen powder, and cinnamon and stevia. My healthy protein-packed oatmeal. It really powers you through the day. Really powers you. When you have like super healthy meals, really powers